And today we're holding this event together with the I4MS for Ts, which is the CSA supporting the I4MS initiative, and also the AI REGIO project. The local organizer is Politecnico di Milano, and with this, Marta Pinzona. Great thanks to you. So I will lead you through the first part of that session, and maybe we can have a short glance at the agenda now. So this would be the agenda slide, which you should see. If not, I'm just going to tell you. So we're going to start off. We will have 3 keynote presentations. Yeah, that's the right slide for the session as such. And here we see the agenda. So we have 3 keynote presentations. So one is from the European Commission, Anne-Marie Sassen, giving us a bit of a look into the future of the Horizon Europe program. We're going to have a keynote from Smart Anything Everywhere, which is Hayden Thompson from Think on the opportunities for SMEs in Industry 5.0. We're having a roundtable on trend solutions, good practices for SME-driven smart systems 5.0. A keynote also from I4MS. This is more on the collaboration of DIHs across Europe. We're having a roundtable, which is then more on the take-up of digital manufacturing platforms by SMEs, as well as also digital innovation hubs, and closing by Maria Roca. If you give me the next slide now, I'm just going to give you a little bit of background because not everybody might be so familiar with the SAE and I4MS initiatives. So the background is really, this is to ensure that any industry in Europe, wherever situated in any sector, can fully benefit from digital innovations. And how do they do that? What is the approach or concept behind? So both of the initiatives really have created and are building on so-called digital innovation hubs. A digital innovation hub helps SMEs or also startups and mid-caps in their digital transformation, and they do this by providing testing before investing, so to reduce the risk of the SME, support to find more investments, linking them to the innovation ecosystem, and also training and skills. Such digital innovation hubs, which now exist manifold all across Europe, in the so-called innovation actions, these are the projects of I4MS and Smart Anything Everywhere, they come together in a network and support SMEs with their expertise, but also with cascade funds. And when the SMEs applies for an open call, getting such cascade funds, then they would, with the project together, do an SME-driven application experiment. And this is what was in the title. Now we will have the lessons learned from all of that, like the collaboration of those initiatives, the digital innovation hub services as such, the SME application-driven experiments, but also like what could be next, because now we're diving really into the Industry 5.0. So Industry 5.0 is rather, it is of course still key, the digital transformation, but in that case, it's accompanied much more also with the green and social aspects like sustainability. Yes, thank you. So sustainability and resilience and also human-centric aspects. So I think now we can already move into the first presentation, which is by Anne-Marie Sassen. You can already see her here. We can put up her presentation already. And this is really a look into the future for the Horizon Europe program. What are the opportunities there really for future manufacturing in terms of Industry 5.0? So Anne-Marie, I would give the word to you right now. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you too, Meike, for inviting me here. Good morning, everybody who is listening. So normally I'm always talking about the European Digital Innovation Hubs, but today I want to take the occasion that this session was about Industry 5.0, so the future of manufacturing, to also talk about another responsibility that we have in the unit, and that is the digital part of manufacturing research in Horizon Europe. And I want to first start with telling you which are the calls which are open now in Horizon Europe for this future research towards Industry 5.0. And then I want to give you an outlook on the process that we have just started to develop the work program for the years 2023 and 2024. So the calls which we have opened now, one is really very applicable to your community. It is the successor of I4MS. So it's part of Horizon Europe Cluster 4 in the digital industry and space. And then within that very large cluster, it is in Destination 1. And the topic is, well, you see a long name, 0106, ICT Innovation for Manufacturing Sustainability in SMEs. So here you, in the title, you can already see that we have moved from Horizon 2020, where I4MS was about digitalization in manufacturing for SMEs. We now also include this aspect of sustainability, which Meike also explained is part of this Industry 5.0 concept. So we foresee the same scheme that competence centers, whether they are European Digital Innovation Hub or another type of Digital Innovation Hub, or just technology, you know, technology centers, that they apply for a grant and that then they will cascade 50% of their funding to SMEs to experiment with new technologies in this area of sustainable digitalization, let's call it that way. So what we expect that the outcomes will be of this action is that it will improve the sustainability of processes and products, and that it will significantly reduce or reuse waste and lower the energy and carbon footprint of the production processes and the products. That it will also make industrial processes more agile, secure and resilient to future changes, and then that it will make, this is then the human dimension of the Industry 5.0, that it will make manufacturing jobs more attractive for humans, whichever the age, gender or social and cultural background, through better human interfaces and more intuitive interaction with digital tools. So these are the broad outcomes, and of course not all the projects need to have impact in all of these outcomes. You should then select the outcome where you want to work on. But you see here very clearly these dimensions of Industry 5.0 in the new topics for I4MS. What we then foresee is that the useful technologies in these areas would be around artificial intelligence applied to manufacturing. And then we specifically think about AI applications which are run in the manufacturing processes itself, so what we call at the edge, and not centrally in a cloud computing application. We also want to promote cyber-secure industrial Internet of Things, which would enable sharing of industrial data and value creation between different SMEs in value chains. And then the other technology where we want to put specific focus on is advanced interfaces and collaboration within smart working environments, such as collaborative robots. So that is the I4MS 2 call that we have open at the moment. The call will close the 30th of March, so there's still time to prepare proposals. And we will also have an information day somewhere in November. The date has not been established yet. We are doing this together with DGRTD, but soon we will announce this date. So then the next call that we have, it is for research and innovation actions in the area of digital tools to support the engineering of a circular economy. So also here, we include much more the green dimension of the digital transition. And here the expected outcomes are that we want innovative digital tools which can be used by engineers, by technicians and operators on the factory floor, which will help them to look at how materials could be saved, how products could be repaired or refurbished or remanufactured or recycled or reused. So these are many R's, repair, refurbishing, remanufacturing and recycling, which will be, and reuse, which are very important for the future to go to a circular economy. This then will also lead to a reduction of the dependency of imported raw materials, because we will be able to reuse materials better or use them longer, for instance. And a third expected outcome of this call would be related to standardization. So there would be more specifications and standards for data and products or business processes, which could really help to to collect information about products. How have they been produced? How have they been used? And how could they be reused? Again, here there is attention to the people who will use these tools. It should be for them simple and easy to use. So they shouldn't have a PhD to be able to use these tools that will be developed. And then the scope of the action is on developing new concepts, methods, and digital tools to support the further engineering of the industrial processes that can enable recycling, remanufacturing, refurbishing, and reuse. The 5 R's again. And then we also want, in order to reduce this skills gap, that there is sufficient attention to training, knowledge transfer, cognitive interfaces, and a real involvement of the people who will be using these tools at the end. Can we please go to the next slide? So that are the 2 calls that we have open at the moment, and which I would invite you to look at carefully and to also participate to the Info Day, which will then take place in November. Now I want to move to the next work program, which will be the work program for 2023 and 24. And we are always developing such work programs in 2 steps. The first step is that we will develop orientations. And in the orientations, we don't make yet the specific topics for a work program, but we discuss the trends, the strategic choices that need to be made, the big tickets where with Horizon Europe, we want to put the money on, what we think is really important. And we will also formulate expected outputs. So this process, we have now made first draft orientations in the Commission, and this has been sent to the Member States. And it will be discussed with the Member States on the 29th of October. So this is a meeting where maybe the delegates which are in the program committee meeting for cluster 4 of Horizon Europe, maybe they have also forwarded you our draft orientations, and maybe you can provide input to your delegates about what you think would also be important for these orientations. The inputs that we have used in the Commission, it is, for instance, the strategic research agenda of Made in Europe public-private partnership. I think also your workshop today can provide very valuable input for these orientations. So I would, I will listen and would also like to get your report about this. We will organize a workshop with stakeholders in November, specifically about these orientations. And we had opened an EU survey to ask stakeholders to provide input. Originally, this was open until 15th of September, but I think it's still open now. So if you haven't yet provided input, please do so. You see the link here on the slide. So after this first discussion with the member states on the 29th of October, we will reflect, we will have these further consultations, which I just talked to you about. And then we will finalize these orientations in December in another meeting with the member states, with the program committee. After we've, oh, sorry, can you please go back? So after we've, on the next slide, on the previous slide, sorry, can you please go back to the previous one? Yeah. So after we've agreed on the orientation, then we will start developing the work program. And that will again be in a co-creation mode with the member states. It will be from January to June that we do that. And then we would expect that the member states would vote for the work program in October, November, and we can adopt the work program in December, so that the calls can open for 2023 and 2024. So you see, this is a very long process to develop this work program and to include all the feedback from all the stakeholders. Can we please go to the next slide? And now I just want to give you a peek view on what we have in mind for the orientations of this the digital part on manufacturing. So what we have seen during the COVID crisis, but also due to other incidents that happened, for instance, the blockage of the Suez Channel when a ship made a wrong maneuver, that the value chains are very long, complex, but also very brittle. And that if something happens somewhere in the value chain, it really has big consequences for factories in Europe to still produce the goods. And we see now big delays in delivery of goods, and we see shortages of some components and materials. So we want to make the value chain more resilient to shocks that happen. And digital tools can also help there. So that would be one of the focus that we have, and we call it From Smart Factory to Smart Value Networks. And the idea is that concepts like manufacturing as a service, where factories would have digital interfaces to for others to understand the production capacity that they have, on what terms components could be produced, so that we can get a more digital negotiation of certain goods that would be produced, where we would also have concepts like build to order, where we don't want to have large stocks, because of course that could be a way to increase the resilience. But we also know that very often when there are large stocks, they will not be used, and sometimes they are even just demolished after a while. So, and that's not good for the Green Deal. So we want then to also find a way where you can have, on the spot production without large stocks. And we also believe that we would
have to speed up a little bit, Anne-Marie, sorry.
Digital twin of the whole value network, and that with that we could model better the value network, and we could get new ways of production. And then the second topic that we would have, it's also related to what your topic of today, Industry 5.0, where we would need to have further research how to make better products where we better co-create also with people who are working with these products, because we quite often still have the model where researchers, they develop new products, but it's very difficult to also get the feedback of the people who will be really using. So we need there to go to new models, and we need new research for that. Please go to the next slide. Yeah, so this is the end. So we have 2 new calls open related to digital manufacturing. And then we are developing this orientation for which we hope your workshop will provide valuable input. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anne-Marie, for that very comprehensive and inspiring presentation. So I heard from you also, it was not too much on Digital Europe, but there will be another session tomorrow at the same time, which will be talking about the EDIHs and their connections. So you will find something in the other session. Because we have to speed up a little bit, thank you very much. We're now having Hayden Thompson as a keynote speaker from the Smart Anything Everywhere initiative from Think, and he's also partner in the Smart for Europe 2 project, telling us a little bit about the opportunities for SMEs. So he is from an SME as well, and I'm already going to give the stage to you, Hayden.
Okay, good morning, everyone. That's looking for the slides. And okay, great. So what I'm going to talk about are the opportunities. And I'm, as Micah rightly said, I'm from an SME, so I'm very interested in what the opportunities for SMEs are in Industry 5. If we go to the next slide, so next slide, please. One of the key things really is that we struggle to digitize, and there's quite a low level of digitization in industry at the moment. And a study which was done a few years ago now highlighted that roughly Europe is about 12% digitized, and there's a lot of opportunities to do a lot more. Obviously, with the pandemic which happened, we were struggling to digitize in February 2020. There was a tsunami of digitization in March of 2020, and we then went to a new normal. And this has sort of changed the way we work and the way we do things, but there's still a lot of things where we actually need the human to be there to do activities. And the good news is that really there's a big opportunity to actually increase the GDP of Europe by about 1 trillion euros. If we move to the next slide. So what are the changes we see from digitization? Well, we see digitization in the products themselves. So making the products smarter. We're sort of seeing digitization in the processes, so making things in a more optimal way, reducing raw resources, reducing energy, etc. And also we're sort of seeing new business models coming from data. So data is the new oil in different areas. And all of the programs which the Commission have put together, like Horizon Europe, Digital Europe, and the Green Deal, all feed into these in various different ways. And so there's lots of opportunities in the programs. If you look in the programs, there's lots of opportunities for putting AI into systems and into manufacturing. The Anne-Marie was talking about I4MS 2 and other areas there. There's also even things in the European Innovation Council where they're doing transition and accelerator programs as well to actually take your products further. A big driver now is the Green Deal, and we've heard some of that from Anne-Marie in the previous presentation. And the other thing which is underpinning this is really the need for a European data strategy as well, to actually look at these new business models which are based around data to actually provide a framework for people. If we move to the next slide. So where does Smart Anything Everywhere come into this? Well, this Smart SAE was actually started off in about 2011 and started off with 4 different areas, and has actually grown over 3 phases to about 6 different areas. And you can see the spread on the right hand side of the different activities which are going on. And really this is specifically to help SMEs and mid-caps and startups to try and enhance their products and services. And a lot of this is via linkage with the Digital Innovation Hub. It's very nice to get all of the hubs together today to talk about this. If we move to the next slide. Obviously, as things grew and we had more and more activities, it was thought that a CSA would be good to try and provide sort of the one-stop shop to sort of bring some of these activities together. And so Smart for Europe and Smart for Europe 2 has been very busy creating services to try and connect things together, create a network between all of these different activities, and also bring together an ecosystem around the area, and also link with national and regional initiatives. And we're seeing this again coming out through things like the EDIs, which are being put forward as well. So as SAE has grown, we see a lot more sectors being covered. There's about 400 projects, and we've done an analysis of the sectors, and it's quite interesting to see the whole range of products and services which are being developed. And the future driver obviously will be the EDIs in the future around technology themes and also sectors. If we move to the next slide, what's the big opportunity for Europe? Well, actually, if you look to where all the growth is, it's interesting. It's not in the sort of the phone market or anything like that. That's pretty stagnant at the minute. Now, obviously, Europe isn't a big player in those markets anyway. The big opportunities are actually in industrial and robotics, automotive electronics, and healthcare. And so we sort of see about 7% growth in those areas. So there's big opportunities for companies in these sectors. If we move to the next slide. So the next slide, please. Okay, so what's the problem? Well, one of the issues is we have lots of initiatives going on around Europe. This again is an old slide, and obviously new things which are happening all the time. But the issue with doing that is if you click on this slide is fragmentation. So if we move on, so fragmentation is a big issue. We have lots of people doing lots of things in different countries and they're not connected together very well. We get fragmentation. One of the issues with this, if we move to the next slide, is we get lots of different standards. And this is particularly a problem for SMEs because we're always trying to work out which standard to use to make sure that we can sell to different markets. We don't want to sell in one country, we want to sell across many countries. So if we have lots of different standards we need to meet, it's quite a challenge. Okay, so let's move to the next slide. So let's talk about manufacturing and what are the changes? Well, as has been highlighted, what we want to do is reduce the amount of raw materials and energy which we use in the first place. We want to have more recycled materials. Already, if you look at aluminium, that's heavily recycled anyway and has been for years. But if you look at plastics, for instance, in automotive, there's no recycled plastic in automotive components at the minute. So there's a need for actually to increase the recycling and to get that into different areas. Also, there's interest in synthetic materials. So we want to try and remove toxic materials from products. We talk about hard chrome and things like that, which would be nice to get rid of. And then additive manufacturing is something which is coming in, and it's really been proven in the COVID pandemic for actually dealing with supply chain issues and also with developing spare parts and also more in remanufacturing. And of course, using additive manufacturing, we're reducing the waste and the scrappage from components. And actually, you have a lot less machining to do if you want to finish components off. And the other big thing we're moving towards is customized products. So we're getting down to batch sizes of 1, and we're also getting co-creation with customers as well. This was something which was mentioned, which I was very pleased to hear, is that customers are getting involved in actually co-creating their products. And these products are becoming smarter in themselves. And the other thing which is happening is customers are more aware of the green issues of products and they want to recycle more. And so recycling is becoming a big issue as well. And we're actually seeing things like product passports being introduced to actually look at the life cycle of products and actually look at their remanufacturing in the future. Now, in the actual factories themselves, we're seeing all sorts of different applications, particularly of AI and digital twins, to actually help in systems and also in providing human-machine interfaces and decision-making systems which help workers make decisions which optimize processes, but also optimize the green production of processes, products as well. So if you move to the next slide. So I'm going to very quickly go over this slide because you know this, I'm sure, but basically the big move in Industry 5 is to move toward mass customization, and we're really bringing together Industry 4, Internet of Things and Industrial Internet of Things together. The key things I wanted to mention really was that actually, if you look at the cycle time for these different generations, they're getting much shorter. So we need to move quickly, we need to be agile, we need to be able to get these technologies into operation quickly. And the manufacturing industry is known for being quite slow at the uptake of technologies. There's been some impact on that. If you look at the bottom left, we see that automation has really increased productivity, but it's actually reduced the manpower needed to actually produce these products. If we move to the next slide, what I wanted to highlight.
Speed up a little bit, Hayden.
Yeah, okay.
So one more minute.
I will do. So what we see is we've hit an adoption plateau. So the amount of automation which is going in, the amount of industrial robots going in has reached a plateau, and we're sort of moving towards these new customized products and cobots in factories, and also digital twins. So if we move to the next slide, we see that we're moving from robots in cages to people working alongside robots, which has all sorts of benefits for people. And also we're moving towards wearable machines as well, exoskeletons. And surprisingly, about 10,000 were sold in 2020. So this is a very growing market. If we move to the next slide, we see that we're also doing a lot more with digital twins. So you can see that I was installing wireless sensors on gas turbine engines years ago to actually create digital twins of gas turbine engines, so we could actually look at better fleet management of engines, but also you can use them for designing new products as well. And by gathering this information, we can actually run a lot of what-if scenarios, develop new products. And already we're using digital twins online. Every Tesla, for instance, has a digital twin, and they use the data to actually update the software on the cars which they collect. If we move to the next slide, we can see what are the technology drivers. First of all is edge connectivity. We're seeing far more being done at the edge. Factory owners love this because they like fog computing and edge computing rather than doing things in the cloud. So we worry about the data, we worry about energy, but there's also privacy and issues. I noticed that security was mentioned, and that's good news. Latency issues. There is an issue with platform dependency. We're very dependent on US platforms, but the big opportunity, certainly in manufacturing, is that you really need to understand the shop floor operational technologies, and the big companies don't understand this. So there's an opportunity for industrial strength platforms. In the 5G area, we've got lots of real-time communications with low latency, which means we can do all sorts of things with high density communications. And also AI is everywhere now. We see it right across the programs in the European Commission, but we see it being used in optimizing factories, but also in the products themselves. If we move to the next slide. Okay, so we still have a lot more to do in order to achieve digitization. Industry 5 is ushering in a new era of working alongside machines and smart products, which are going to change our lives, and also green products as well. There are lots of opportunities for Europe and for SMEs in this. Horizon Europe and Digital Europe has lots of activities which are promoting all the different sectors, and also specifically for SMEs as well, which is very good news. And the SMEs are need to acquire the skills, and test before investing is one of the key things. So really, I'm sort of finishing with a toast to the European Commission for actually coming up with schemes like this, which actually gives us excellent models to try and get these things into SMEs.
Thank you very much, Hayden. So always a joy listening to you, seeing your new cartoons and your little nice videos. So thanks a lot for that. And also, like, I personally thought it was really interesting to see the change of perspective on human-robot collaboration as well. So this is something, yes, I would say, who knows what is next? Maybe it's becoming your best colleague, a robot, drinking a beer with him, which is already you're approaching in your video. Okay, maybe I'm just going to say this is really the links you will find in the presentation afterwards too, and we can put it in the chat again. So this is also where you will find the slides afterwards. So it was useful links to the Smart Anything Everywhere initiative as such, but also to the recording later on and to the slides. But now I think we are really well set for our first panel. So this is a roundtable on trends, solutions, good practices for SME-driven smart systems 5.0. And here we have 2 people on stage and 2 people joining virtually. And we have 2 people from the I4MS project, 2 from the SAE, and we have 2 industry representatives and 2 from university. So I'm shortly going to introduce to you. We have Andrea Bettoni. He's from SUPSI in Switzerland, and he's coordinating an I4MS project, Kit for SME. So welcome, you're in the studio. Then we have Xenia Beltrán. She's from the University Politécnica de Madrid. She's coordinating the VOYEX project, so also an I4MS project. Welcome. Then we have Stefano Villa, also in Cernobbio right now, from a small and medium-sized enterprise from Evergy in the field of energy management. And he's also partner in the DIH for CPS project. And we have Marcello Coppola, and he's from ST Microelectronics, which is a large industry, so a representative also from a large industry. who within that project is technology provider. So he's partner in the DigiFed project. So maybe the ones in the panel can also open up their cameras, and the ones you're seeing in the studio, I think they will be put somehow on the screen as well. So, hello. So now I can see Andrea and Stefano. Very welcome, and maybe the others can just open their cameras. So we're having a few questions for you. We have to be really quick in the answers. So we're trying to get the 2 questions for you, but depending on your discipline, the second one will be very short, but let's try to have an answer in 2 minutes only.
Okay.
So we're going towards the Industry 5.0. So this is also where Smart Anything Everywhere and I4MS have paved the way towards. And we now would really like to know some examples from your side. So examples on what worked well and what can be improved in those initiatives and the concept, but rather also what are examples towards 5.0 that you have there already. So maybe there's one question going to Andrea first and then Xenia. As you are the 2 coordinators of I4MS Innovation Actions, what are, from your perspective and experience, what would you see as good practices or examples that have helped SMEs in their digital transformation towards Industry 5.0? So starting with Andrea first, so from the studio.
Okay, thank you. And first of all, let me tell you that I'm a big fan of this cascade funding mechanism that we have in the I4MS and also in the other initiatives of the Commission, because it really helps bringing the innovation to the small and medium enterprises. When we talk about these companies, they are exposed to all kinds of innovation. They know that there is something going on that can be useful for them, but what they miss are the competencies for, let's say, making some trials with these new technologies, and at the same time, also their network is lacking those companies. If they go to their traditional supplier, they rarely find someone who can apply, I don't know, talking about key for SME, we're working with AI solutions for manufacturing. This is hard to find. So with the cascade funding mechanism, we're able, and this is the strength, I think, of this solution, to reach the companies, bringing them the wider perspective of universities like us, technologies from AI solution providers in Kit for SME or robotic, collaborative robotic, as has been mentioned before, system integrator, a whole package where they can try to make their production more innovative, more human-centric, because this is one of the aspects of this kind of innovation. So this is, for me, the strongest benefit that we have from the I4MS and the cascade funding in general.
Yes, great. Thank you very much. I can only agree. Same question to Xenia. Maybe you can have a short comment on that too. Some best practices towards Industry 5.0. You're also working in the human-centric area there.
Yes, I think it all relates, okay, because I think this cascade funding allows SMEs to experiment, okay, and if you want to be really human-centric, okay, you have to do this experimentation, as said. And also I said by Hayden before, you know, I think it has been a challenging year, and the SMEs recognize that leadership demands technology focus now and innovation and to really go and be human-centric and work and have the opportunity to work close with their workers to really support these technologies as such. I think, okay, in this case, the technology needs also to be adapted to the SMEs, as the SMEs, again, also to adapt to the technology by supporting the skills, okay? And I think they need kind of this kind of first round of adoption that allows the experimentation to really make a more robust decisions and more mature decisions, and with simulation of the process. As they do so, I think they mature in the adoption, okay? And for example, in the case of robots, okay, they can fully learn how to use them. And when they fully learn to use it, okay, then they really take better advantage, okay, and see the impact, not only over their revenues, but also, okay, when they interact in the in the context of their workers, okay, and really make the robots or the technologies to be human-centric and to work around them and for them and to them.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much for that statement already. And like now we have seen human-centric a little bit, moving to Stefano, who's working as an SME, also showing us the SME perspective. They are working in energy management. So this is kind of participating somehow in the green transition. So what was then your way of helping the green transition in your project? So this goes to Stefano in the studio.
Okay, hello everybody. Yes, we are working in the DIH4CPS project for optimizing the energy usage of a building of the Humanitas group, which is a very important medical group in Italy. And so our system works with artificial intelligence, cloud computing, and IoT for bringing data from the field to the cloud and analyzing it with artificial intelligence. And we build models, predictive models, to optimize the usage. So we don't typically the system that were employed until now used a reactive way of for optimizing energy. Now we are seeing a predictive side. So you can anticipate what the system, what the building will do, and act in consequence. You can also use data from third parties like weather forecasts, energy market prices, and so on. So we are seeing a big improvements in this field.
Okay, thank you very much for that. So this is already great examples from the project as such, as they are right now, how they are already paving the way towards Industry 5.0. Marcello, you are a big industry partner in the DigiFed project. You're kind of the supplier of platforms. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about a role of such a big industry partner in such a innovation action.
Yes, sure. So as STEA Microelectronics, today we are participating to a project like DigiFed in order to help a small company or mid-sized company to make a successful product. So what we are providing is everything around the microcontroller, in particular the STM32 microcontroller, and all the ingredients we have around, like sensor, connectivity. So we support those companies in order to speed up, to put in place fast prototyping close to final product, and then they are able really to move from this prototype to the final product to put on the market. What we support during the time inside the project is really we provide some sample, we provide what we call fast prototyping board in order to develop their software on top of this board. And then they can reuse eventually what we have, what we provide, like real-time OS, other specific function for the connectivity. And then they are really focusing on the final application. And last but not least, we also help them to reinforce the security in those IoT devices, because today the security is really one of good selling point if they would like to penetrate the market to be successful in their market.
Okay, thank you very much. So a good example also what a bigger industry's part is within this activities. So this was kind of to show you where we are already, like the best like examples from the project as they are right now. But if we're looking more into the future, like what would be the next step? What would we need for the future? What could also be in the next call? As Anne-Marie said, she really wants to have your recommendations there. So next question would rather be on what are the upcoming technologies, the trends? What would you like to see in such a next program maybe? So again, starting with Andrea in the studio, what would be your recommendation there?
Okay, in talking about technologies, I think that the most mature that we can see in the short term is collaborative robotics. When we talk about artificial intelligence, we maybe are talking about something that is going to happen in the mid to long term. So it's maybe not tomorrow's technology. But it's not just technology that we need to bring to the small and medium enterprises. So first of all, we need to make this available. We need to have enough critical mass. So we need to have convergence of the many initiatives that are out there, but they need to rely on same standards, rely on same platforms and marketplace to actually reach the SME. Second, when we're talking about human-centric, it's not just bringing the technology, it's bringing what is around the technology. So it's the competencies, so the theme of upskilling is the most relevant, I would say, in order to have this innovation actually happen. Then there are also other aspects like cultural or organizational that you need to bring to the companies, because they're not just buying something off the shelf. They need to change in order to really adopt that. And third thing, we need to create some quick wins. So that's where this I4MS project and the Smart Anything Everywhere works, because they can see success stories. We did one in Emilia-Romagna, very close to here, where we introduced human-robot collaboration with the system to also track the level of fatigue of the worker. And if you create a success story for a company like this one that is working in the injection molding sector, then other companies from the same sector can see how in the end they can get better quality, better performance, better also satisfaction of their operators. They can see themselves in these examples and they can join this transformation.
Yes, very good. And we see some of that in the upcoming program, which is good, but of course there's still a lot of ideas needed and like to shape the future programs beyond. Xenia, same question for you, also working in that same field of human-centric. Maybe you can add something onto that. What would be your recommendation there?
Yes, I fully agree with Andreas, and I fully agree in the whole speech a little bit. I mean, from the technology's point of view, I think for collaborative robots is very important, especially all the area of cognition and natural language for easy communication with especially the robots, okay? Because it's not about also human predicting what the robot is going to do, but also robots predicting what humans could do, because this is the way to go on 5.0 and personalization. But as for that, okay, we need the SMEs, as also he commented, okay, to get more mature, and as I commented before. So actually, this degree of maturing in the automation, okay, is what is going to give the SMEs the capacity to see the capacity or the full use of the previous digitalization technologies that they have used or they have in 1.0 and 5.0. So actually, in my view, if also in the program, I think it would be nice to have, or maybe to have SMEs that already have robotics solutions in place or digital solutions in place, because it's not only about adopting the technologies, it's about accelerating the growth of already adopted technologies. I think, and we can see the example of the environment here, SMEs are mastering the changes and positioning themselves in this kind of leading solutions or leading future, but they have to find how this broad definition of value goes for them. So I think if we go also this way, we can see and SMEs can see the potential on how people is thriving, okay, in the companies, what is the impact of the environment, but also we can see in the programs, okay, greater inclusion and diversity, okay, for integrating these new technologies, and I think that's quite important.
Yes, very. I totally agree to this. Thank you very much. Moving to Stefano into the studio again, you can choose if you want to answer rather on technologies, on green technologies, or on SMEs, what could be done rather for SMEs, like from an SME perspective. Okay. So what would you put into the next program?
Okay, so I will then go for technologies, since we are technology providers and service providers, but from our side, we think that it's important to have resources, of course, for R&D projects, because it's hard sometimes for a small company to stay alive, let's say it brutally. And the other main advantage is the networking. So you have access to a bigger network of solutions and markets, and maybe you have access to a European market where the legislation is more mature than, for instance, here in Italy. And so you can apply your technologies where you are ready in a broader range.
Very good. Thank you very much. And then last question also to our big industry partner in the project. Do you have any best practice you want to share, or anything you would implement or enhance in the next work program as a recommendation?
Just as a best practice, just to reuse what we have done so far. I mean, this collaboration with the small and medium enterprise has been working very well. Just to give you some number, we have today supported more than 30 small companies. Some of them are really successful in some market. What we would like is really to carry on this trend, because at the end is successful, also for ST, because it's nice to saw those small company. It was a small company at the beginning when they apply, and now they are mid-size. Some of them has been also enter in a stock exchange. So this is a great success also for Europe, because this is making stronger European company. They can really play worldwide, those companies. From a ST point of view, what we would like is really the cyber physical security should be something very important, because today we saw on the market a lot of product coming from East country where the security is very poor. We have where instead in Europe we have really good people. What we need is really to give to those people having bright, brilliant idea, all the means to succeed in their market. So this combination between a big company, small company, I think I found personally very interesting. Also is reaching a lot of myself. Also reach a lot. I mean, all the companies work with us they were very happy also at the end of the project.
Thank you very much. And I also think that interaction really between the larger companies and the SMEs within such a project is a very, very good example of how the future also could look. So with this, I mean, we could talk further for hours, but I assume we do have to finish here now. Thank you very, very much for your very valuable inputs. We're seeing something on green, on resilient, on human-centric examples from your projects, but also looking into the future. And with this, I thank you very, very much. I don't know if we can even have an applause from the studio. Maybe we can hear that across Europe then, that you're really there in the studio. So applause from my side. Yeah, very good. Thank you very much. So with this, I would also hand over to Maria Roca. She will now give us her keynote from the I4MS, or also from the CSA I4MS 4Ts, which is on the collaboration of digital innovation hubs across Europe. So Maria, the stage is yours then.
Yeah, thank you very much. I will put the timer on so I don't take much time, because I'm usually taking more time than is assigned to me. So thank you very much for inviting us. Since the next panel will be exploring how digital innovation hubs can really support SMEs in the uptake of the use of digital platforms, I wanted to introduce a little bit what we from I4MS are doing, but I'm not only focusing on I4MS. I will talk about I4MS because I have more experience about it, but this applies also to Smart Anything Everywhere and all the different projects that are present today. So at the end of the day, as Hayden mentioned in his keynote, digital innovation hubs will have an European digital innovation hub will have a clear role on making sure that the latest technologies and that SMEs can really embrace Industry 4.0. So that's why I think it is important, if we can move to the next slide, to think about how we can all connect European networks. This is a picture that I took from DHNet, that at the end of the day, what they want to show here is, although we all respond to our regional challenges, especially working with SMEs, because we know that in different regions, the innovations indexes are not the same. We need to connect all these European networks, and that will be the role of European digital innovation hubs. So at the end of the day, if we want to go to more transition to a sustainable, human-centric and resilient European industry, we need to put a focus on the stakeholders' value and connect them. Okay. Also, to capture the value of new technologies, it's important that we offer resources to the persons that are dealing with or supporting SMEs in order to, be updated with the latest trends. As you have been seen today also in the different presentations, that technologies evolve very quickly. Trends also evolve, so it's important to be connected to some networks that can also increase efficiency and effectiveness in the use of these technologies, or in adapting these technologies to the SMEs, for them to be able to uptake them a little easier. So the next slide is just to set up a little bit the scene. I think Mike already introduced I4MS, which is a European initiative that is now in the 4th phase. You have heard also from Andrea and Xenia, who are projects that belong to I4MS, a little bit what I4MS does. That is, from one side, to connect SMEs with funding opportunities, and not only with funding, but also to technological and business opportunities. Okay, so the next slide, I just wanted to mention before the next panel starts a little bit what are the key assets of being part of a European network of digital innovation hubs. So as I said, next slide. About the key assets of EU networks, you can see that information on infrastructures and on the different industry areas is important. It's important to count on competence centers, or in the case of some of the projects that are here today, also the case of DIH for CPS, and DigiFed, that they count also with SMEs, with companies that are helping them in order to build the different infrastructures and also resources for the SMEs. So I think the first key asset of belonging an EU network, you will see some examples later, is to have access to information and up-to-date especially on the different industry areas and technology developments. In the next slide, you can see an example of how we are trying to do this in I4MS. We have an online community that I invite you to join, where there is information about the best practices. That is something that has been already mentioned also as one of the information that we should give to the SME to see themselves reflected in the example of the different technologies. Also, in the next slide, as I said, the access to different infrastructures that EU networks can offer. In the case of I4MS, I just put here some examples, but these are examples from previous phases and also from projects that are still working on new digital platforms or the development of the previous one. So I think at the end, this European network can give you, also access to different innovations that perhaps it will be difficult to reach at regional level maybe. So what else? Moving forward to the next slide, something very important that was mentioned also in the previous panel is the network. At the end, what is important, and if we want to lead the digital transformation, we need to find trust partners who can provide expertise, who can provide also services that are proved, that are standardized, and at the end of the day, that have quality enough to make sure that the SMEs will take profit out of it. Also, I think belonging to European networks bring for sure expertise in initiating European collaborations. I think for the SMEs, participating in cascade funding might be the first step in order to be connected at European level, which I think is also something that SMEs should explore. And of course, enhance the regional capacities and skills that are offered by the network of contacts. Okay, if we think the previous speaker mentioned, at the end of the day, if you have other persons, other peers that can provide you some inputs on how they have done it in their countries, this is information that is very valuable. So next slide. You can see the example of the network of contact points, but the different projects that are here today represented, they are also they have also their own network of digital innovation hubs. In the case of REGIO, they have also this TEF for AI that are creating also a network. So, there are plenty of opportunities that are maybe related to a technological area or maybe to an industry area, but there are plenty of networks out there that I invite you to connect with. Next slide. Also about the expertise initiating European collaborations, I think this I already mentioned before, but in the case of, for instance, one project that will be showcased later, in the case of Bowie, they are not only exploring how to initiate collaboration, for instance, on a specific technology area, but also how to develop the capacity and the capabilities of the different stakeholders that are involved in supporting the SMEs. So at the end of the day, is to have, to attract stakeholders and ensure high quality of support that can be, of course, developed through the participation in these European networks. So if you can go to the next slide. You can see here, in the case of I4MS, the different projects that are offering this type of support to initiate European collaborations. In the case of I4MS, they are focused on technological areas. But of course, we also have DIH work that, similarly to what Bowie does, it also works towards the improvement of the capacities of the DIHs that are involved. And next slide. And here you can find other networks of the IH, because today we are representing I4MS and SAE initiative, but there are other initiatives also that are supporting DIHs and SMEs in other areas. I left the link there so you can take a look also to the DIHnet community. And finally, another key asset that I think it should be mentioned in my next slide is the financial capital. The previous panel, it was mentioned, funding is an important aspect of the collaboration, and in the case of I4MS and SAE, there are different open calls that are not only focusing on the on the uptake of specific technologies for the SMEs. So my time is over, but also, on the use of these technologies by digital innovation hubs. So I think it's worthy that you take a look to the open call calendar and see what opportunities suit you. And with this, I just, I close my speech here. In case you have questions, in I4MS we have a brokering system, so you feel free to submit your question and we will try to connect you with different innovation actions under I4MS and also other digital innovation hubs that might be interested in contacting with you. Thank you very much.
Okay, perfect. So thank you, Maria. Good morning to everyone. My name is Silvia Razzetti from Politecnico di Milano, who is the coordinator of AI REGIO project, sponsor of this event. In previous panel, we have talked about trend, solution, good practices related to digital transformation toward Industry 5.0. And now we change a little bit our perspective and we talk about digital innovation hubs services for digital transformation. So just to understand about what we are going to talk, AI REGIO has proposed, next slide please, thank you. AI REGIO project has proposed the best taxonomy for digital innovation hub services, which is called the best. This taxonomy is a classification of services based on 3 different levels. Level 1, next slide, thank you. Level 1 contains 5 macro classes of services. Which are these classes? We have the data services, we have the business, ecosystem, skills, and technology services. Next slide, please. Each class is split in some subclasses of services. So we are going a little bit more in detail. And finally, next slide, we have the level 3, which are the services. The services that a digital innovation hub can provide to support the digital transformation of a company, of an enterprise. Here we see just an example. So this is a focus on ecosystem services. We can see the class, the highest level, the type, the second level, and the service itself. So level 1, the 5 classes, and in particular, we have labeled this taxonomy the best taxonomy from the initial letter of the 5 macro classes. Then we have level 2, the type, and finally level 3, the services itself. In particular, according to the best taxonomy, we have classified more than 60 services than a digital innovation hubs can provide. So next slide, please. In this half an hour that we have, we will talk about digital innovation hub services together with 4 different speakers. They are from 4 different projects, 2 from I4MS and 2 from SAE, and from 4 different perspectives. We have Germana Gianquinto, she's here with me. And she represents a manufacturing enterprise. So she is the end user, the final user of a digital innovation hub service. Then we have Hugo Macedo from Aarhus University, and he represents a competence center. So he represents the person the organization who provide technological services for digital innovation hub. Then we have David Vidal from CARSA and Aiga Irmeja from Latvian DIH, and they both represent the Digital Innovation Hub. In particular, they work in two projects, which are respectively DIH World and Bowie, who are focusing on the underrepresented region in Europe regarding about Digital Innovation Hub. So they will provide us their perspective and the activity that they are performing in order to sharing the concept of Digital Innovation Hub also in the underrepresented region. Okay, so let's start with the first round of questions. Let's start with Germana. She's here with me. We have a short time, so I will ask to all of you just to use a couple of minutes to answer and also to say something about you and your company. So question number one is addressed to an enterprise, to manufacturing enterprise. So the question, you are supported by a Digital Innovation Hub, which is AFIL in Lombardia region. So the question is, which type of the best service are provided to you? And what is the impact, socio-technical impact that you have on your business thanks to these services?
Thank you, Silvia. Thank you for the invitation. I think we are, in fact, the example of how an SME could take advantage of the best services portfolio. Gualini Lamira International is an SME which sits in Bulgaria, established in 1950. We are a manufacturing company working in metal and steel sheet to produce other components in manufacturing, in particular energy, compounds or transports. We are part of a Digital Innovation Hub, AFIL, in fact, and we are part of the REGIO project. I think that we took advantage as a very first example of the business part and the technology part. The business part because together with AFIL, we could take advantage of a consultant working with us in finding new business, fundraising, and other projects opportunities. In fact, REGIO is a first example of it. We work together in other open calls and also in the next call for proposals of the Horizon Europe program. And in just 1 year, we could, collect around 150K of funding. On the other side, the technology side is also important because, of course, we can scale up some and address some problems in our company. And in fact, we have, together with AFIL, also part of these digital innovation hubs, local, that are TXT Solution and Intellimec, which are currently helping us to solve an issue, in particular in Gualini's warehouse. So I think these are the most effective and primarily results of taking advantage of the Digital Innovation Hub.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So let's move to the second speaker. The second question is addressed to Ugo. Ugo, you are a university, you are a competence center, so you are the other side of the middle. You are the one who provide service. So the question is, considering the best portfolio of services, which are the service that your university, that your organization provide. I know that there is short time, but if you can tell us some best practice experience, it would be great.
Yes. I'm Ugo. I'm representing the HubCap project. So we have a network of digital, or host a network of digital innovation hubs that is composed by us here at Aarhus University, Politecnico Milano. We have Fondazione Bruno Kessler. We have Virtual Vehicle in Austria. We have Fortis in Germany, University Newcastle in the UK, and we have Lucian Blaga University in Romania. And in this network, and during our project, we had to elicit like kind of the services that we provide, and catalog them like kind of in this best practices categorization. So among like kind of what was really common for us to provide as services is training, like kind of, and as a university, that's like kind of what would be expected. Like kind of we already do training like kind of for students, and that's a like kind of education is like kind of one of the main like kind of services that the university provides. But we also do like kind of SME connections, and we have like kind of national networks where the university tries to transport or like kind of transfer knowledge to the SME network. So for instance, here in Denmark, we have made it's a project on manufacturing in Denmark, and like kind of there's like kind of both workshops, events, and such kind of transfer of knowledge initiatives that we host locally. In a lot of the elements of our domain, we had like kind of labs and infrastructure that like kind of SMEs can use. So I remember one of the partners had some kind of AI lab or machine learning lab. Some have like kind of hardware that you would test like kind of vehicles on and such. So that's mainly it for now, I would say, as an answer of what we provide as a university, and both as like kind of in the whole project context. So I hope this was enough.
Yes, absolutely. So thank you very much. And now let's go to the third and fourth speaker. So the third question is for both Aiga and David. So you are both acting in the field of underrepresented region from the point of view of Digital Innovation Hub. And so the question is, which are the requirements that this underrepresented region has from the DIH's the best services? Maybe we can start with Aiga, so women first.
Yes, hello, nice to be here. So once more, my name is Aiga Irme, and I am representing Latvian IT Cluster Digital Innovation Hub, so I come from Latvia. But today I'm also representing BOWI project, which is a project to build strong DIH network across EU regions by building collaboration among DIHs, both in represented and underrepresented regions, design and test approaches and tools, how to build, we call it collaboration corridors, but doing that through common digital experiments. So in a BOWI project, I myself represent so-called widening or scaling up DIH, and actually we are enjoying the collaboration and learning from mature hubs, and in our projects, these are like TNO or VTT. And we also have in a BOWI project several open calls for digital experiments, and one coming very soon in December. So regarding your question about services, so I would like to give a very, very short introduction from my point of view. So DIH focus is on SME and the digital maturity of SME. So, and we know from statistics that only 30% of in general, in European SMEs are considered having high digital maturity, which means that more than 2/3 of all European SMEs are in need of more technology and in need of help implementing that. So the main challenge is how to scale up digital innovation hub services to reach those millions of SMEs. And this is a problem not only in underrepresented regions. This is a problem in all regions, represented and underrepresented, for mature and less mature hubs. So basically, we must really learn from each other. And this is something that BOWI project is about, to build strong collaboration links between hubs so that we could learn each other, we could share our experience, share also our resources, our approaches, and help with expertise and technologies. So in the context of the D-based service model, I think it's an excellent response on the mentioned challenge. So let's take this as a kind of holistic approach, how to approach SMEs, because it really takes into account not only technology offers, but there's also business aspect, there are also skills, there's also awareness and networking. So this is all that is needed to go to this scaling up challenge. So as for Bowie project, I think the most important focus in our project is this ecosystem part, so building connections, but we are doing it through the business and technology service part.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. David, the floor is yours. We cannot hear you.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Now you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So thank you. I was saying thank you for inviting me to this panel. Well, my name is David Vidal. I'm consulting. I'm part of CARSA, which is a consulting company on innovation and technology. And today I'm here representing the IH World, which is a project which wants to help SMEs to digitalize, to increase their level of digitalization by working with the DIHs. Basically, that's the main idea. Then we have a very good number of experiments in which DIHs and SMEs are working together. We are not a project focused on a specific technology, but on any of the technologies. So it's a kind of horizontal activity in which we are trying to increase the maturity level of the DIHs, hoping that this activity will be reflected on later on the SMEs, also as I was mentioning. So in answering to your question, we have some numbers, some research done in our project. So in our project, we currently have 55 DIHs involved. Okay, so it's a good community. And as part of this community, we have more than 10% of underrepresented regions. Okay, maybe not the best number, but that's one of the reasons why they are underrepresented. It's not so easy that they participate. So we have done some research and we have some statistics. Of course, each region, as it has also been mentioned this morning, each region is completely different. Each DIH is a unique case which must be in line with the needs of the different stakeholders of the region. But we have some numbers which can help us to better understand where we are and which are the needs. We know that the main services that are coming from our community and as represented in the D-based scheme. So we have the first one, which is around business. Okay, so we have more details, but business, and the second one around technology. Okay, so those classes are the first and the second one. What's the problem that we have identified? Well, there are many, but probably the main problem here is that the link between the offer and the demand is not always perfectly aligned. In these regions, they are creating these DIHs a bit following being a bit reactive. And we know that which the services that the DIHs are offering are maybe not always the ones that the SMEs need. In any case, in our project, we are working in order to try to reduce this gap or to help them to better identify which are the needs and to better align the different services the DIHs are offering to the specific community of the SMEs they are supporting. We have different activities in the project which are aligned with this. I will not enter into details, but this is one of the things that we are doing. And this is basically everything.
Okay, great, thank you. Very, very exhaustive answer. So we have just 5 minutes left, so let's go for another round of questions, but we have only minutes each, so let's try to be short. Yes, exactly. So now we are changing a little bit our perspective. So we have spoken about current services that digital innovation hubs are providing, and now let's think about the future. So about the services expected, so the expectation in short and longer term. So the first question again is for Germana. As a manufacturing enterprise, what are you expecting for the future in terms of the best services?
Well, for the future, we expect to take advantage of all the services provided by the Digital Innovation Hubs. In fact, there would be a lot to talk about, but mainly we would like to take advantage of the data part, because we have a lot of big data in our company. And we need the technology providers, we need the research to exploit all this data to improve our production and the services that we offer towards the client. Then I think about the skills, for example, improving our skills, not only in fundraising, so in new opportunities and new proposals and, for example, the new EU funds, but also on digital transformation and digital technology in Gualini. For example, we have just completed a course, which has been huge because it took 400 hours to complete a digital technology course for all the different areas in our company. And we would like to take advantage also of the other information and help of the Digital Innovation Hub on this part. Last but not least, I would say the networking and the possibility of disseminating and exploiting the result of the research, and also the possibility to networking with other partners, for example, in other proposal. Thank you for the invitation at this forum, and it's the, I would say, straight collaboration with Polimi, so this is a part of the networking that we would like to improve.
Okay, great, thank you. So next question for Ugo. So you are a university, you provide service. Which service are you expecting to provide in next month? Consider the focus is you are part of a project, you are part of a big community, so also collaborative services are very, very interesting and something to be explored.
Yes, that's a good question. So we expect, for instance, we are organizing some open calls, workshops, Q&A seminars, and at least this is a bit more on the project organization side. So we have to host, or we have the open call program that where we do the cascade funding, and we have events programmed for that. Then we have a workshop that we're hosting this week. In fact, it's not, I cannot just label it completely only a digital innovation hub, service that was built for as a digital innovation hub service, but indeed it's our reaching out for partners in SMEs and non-SMEs. We have one of the services that we also provide is to match and both participate in open call writing. So currently, we are leading some efforts to address some of the SDGs goals, and especially in the sector of water, trying to put some SMEs in contact. In this case, between Denmark and Portugal. So We have a lot of challenges as digital innovation hubs. Like kind of in this analysis that we did of the best practices in our network, we noticed that there's a lot of heterogeneity in the services provided. So we definitely would like to improve each DIH with the best practices from the network and to expand our network as well. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. So last question is again both for Aiga and David, and this is linked to what you said before. So the question is, in the future, how the more mature digital innovation hub can support the development in the underrepresented region, and in particular, which are the main obstacles and barriers that you are foreseeing and that must be overcome in short and long term. So, Aiga, please.
So, yes, in our BOE project, we work for building models how interregional collaboration can work among hubs, both mature or less mature, both from represented and underrepresented regions. And this collaboration should work with added value for all the parts. So that's, I would say, it's a ground rule. So the collaboration cannot be one-way cooperation. So it should be in both ways and bring added value for both parts. So, and first we must understand that underrepresented regions doesn't necessarily mean that there is a lack of knowledge or lack of innovations in those regions. Absolutely no. The difference is in size, in scope, in experience in working with large-scale projects, maybe in the approaches, contacts, and of course industry recognition, because mature hubs, of course, are more recognized in industries than less mature ones. So I would dare to say that in some particular areas, the less mature hub might even have more skills and knowledge. So my invitation is to collaborate, and my invite for mature hubs is not to be afraid from collaboration with, let's call it, less mature hubs. So, and of course, ED program definitely is built and designed to meet this challenge, how to make this collaboration work for the common added value for the whole European market and the whole European SMEs. So, and the challenge, of course, the challenge is the same for everyone, and I will repeat from what I said earlier, that the challenge is how to scale digital services for SMEs. So that's a common problem, and I think we should work for that together.
Okay, thank you. That's great. So let's move very short to David, and since we are running a little bit out of time, please, David.
Yes. So we know from our community that the different DIHs would like to collaborate with others in two collaboration scenarios. One is the development of new services, and the second one is what we call matchmaking. Of course, for this development of new services, there is a need of having a good level of maturity for the DIHs so that they can contribute to or make this easier, because this is not an easy task. In our project, we are promoting the different types of peer collaboration among DIHs, those DIHs involved in experiments, in order to really promote this collaboration. So I think we are working considering that the main barriers that we have identified also with research that we have done when a DIH wants to collaborate with another one is that well, there is the time or time cost investment needed for negotiating the particular terms of that collaboration, and also something that has also been mentioned this morning, the lack of knowledge of what the other DIH can do. So considering these let's say barriers or challenges that we are facing, I think this is common for all the projects and for all the DIHs, And I think I4MS and of course the future European digital innovation hubs will help to overcome these challenges, definitely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So we have finished our session, a very interesting session. So I thanks everyone for participating and Germana for being here with me. So thank you very much.
So thank you all for being here. Thank you for this interesting panel. And yeah, we will share some conclusions of today's session. Thank you very much, all of you. A special thanks to Marta, Michael Reimann, Sergio Gusmerolin, Silvia Rasetti, and all the Politecnico of Milano team. And yeah, hope to see you, all of you, very soon. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Bye.